company, and then he buys me furniture, good job, good paying job. He starts training me in maintenance. I mean, everything awesome. But I started drifting away from God, little by little. 3 years later, I was in a bar drinking. I was
after being saved the first time.
After being a pastor in Mexico. That's what discouragement does. Discouragement in a person robs you of your vision and only sees everything that is wrong. Instead of focusing in the future, that everything can change, that it will be different, discouragement starts telling me, you're old, look at you, you haven't accomplished nothing. And then a very evil thing that discouragement does, compares you. Look at your friend. You were in high school together with him. If you had stayed in the army, look, he already retired from the army. He did his 20 years, now he's just going to receive insurance for life. He's set for life, he's receiving a check. Oh no, but you were bullied with the sergeant, huh? You know, things like that, putting you down, putting you down.
And it's your own mind. It's just...
And there's talk to any kid that has gone through suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, it's true. I'm one of them. Yeah,
exactly. What went through you? I mean, God had made you beautiful. You know, your family has told you.
Discouragement, but you say, worthlessness, and that's what you do.
I'm an ugly person. You know, I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. You know, my parents don't love me. They rather love my brother. Exactly. But it's a battle in your mind. And if you don't conquer that, it's going to hit you. It will compare me to someone that says, I'm better than him, or it will compare me to, that one's better than me. So it's like, I'm not satisfied. So I'm looking for something. The Apostle Paul said, one thing I have learned. I have learned to live in need, and I have learned to live in abundance.
Yeah.
It says, I have learned, a learning process. I have learned to be content. He have learned to be content regardless of situation.
Yeah.
I read something very beautiful the other day, and very, it put me to think. And is the wife of my pastor in El Paso. She wrote a note to her son and said, if today God decided to only leave you with whatever you thank him for yesterday, what would it be? And I was there as being, and the first thing I saw was my daughter. And I said, Lord, did I thank you for my daughter yesterday? Can you imagine for God to say, I'm just going to give you today what you thanked me for yesterday? Wow. So my wife's not going to be here? My daughter's not going to be here because I took it for granted to say thank you? You know, how many things would I not have?
Yeah.
You know, because I'm so concentrated in what I want, what I need, what I think I need.
The outside world.
But what do I have right now? I can eat whatever I want, thank God. If I want enchiladas, I go get enchiladas. If I want something, thank God. A lot of people can do that. I have a car. I tell my little girl when it's very cold and we're going to school, I say, look at those people that are in the bus stop, baby. Say, it's raining. Look, it's very cold. You got to be thankful. I show her videos of kids that they have to walk through hours to go to school.
Yeah.
And one day I showed these young kids that live here with me from Honduras. And I said, look at these kids, how they suffer to go to school. And I see that they're kind of not being moved by it. And then one of them says, Pastor, that boy was me. I used to walk 2 hours just to get to school in Honduras.
Wow.
And here, the bus goes and picks them up.
No, here they don't even want to walk a block.
So it's like going back to parents. Am I teaching them to be grateful for what they have? I tell my little girl, baby, in your first year of life, you receive more toys than what I receive in my lifetime. It's true. You receive more clothes, you receive more toys, you receive more of everything than what I receive in my lifetime. So we teach her to have gratitude.
And to be grateful.
To be grateful. We teach her to pray, to read the Word of God, to trust in God, to know that Jesus is the way to God. And the other day, she will bring up some things out of the blue sky, and I just look at her and say, oh my God, Sometimes I don't have the answer. Many
How much
times.
has everything changed for you after you had your daughter and now that you see her, and how much has your mentality and your spiritual self has changed since, trying to teach her at such a young age?
It revolves, everything in everything, because now sometimes I am talking to a guy that he's a hard-headed guy, and I tell him, look, let's see if you value this time that I'm giving you. This time is not mine. This time belongs to my daughter.
Yeah.
I didn't took her to the park because this problem arises here, and I came to fix that problem.
Exactly.
So I am giving you time that belongs to her. I'm going to repeat to you something that I have repeated before. And sometimes I say, I'm not going. I'm going to spend the time with my daughter. I don't want to be. I made this mistake. Me and many pastors made this mistake. We were reaching out the world and losing our family. My stepson, he was very young, Jacob, and he understood that I was so busy reaching out that I never had time for him. I asked him for forgiveness. This is how he showed me his forgiveness. When his daughters were born, he entrusted me with them to spend time with them. I will go to school almost every day for lunch, spend time with them. I knew everything about them. The school knew me more than they knew mom and dad. Now, that was trust. He didn't say, nah, you don't know how to be a good father.
Yeah.
He trusted me. On Grandpa's Day, I still have, a picture that one of them said, mi abuelito, he cooks for me huevitos and bacon.
Aww.
He likes to take me to the park. He prays for me. He spends time with me. I love my grandpa. See, it has no price.
No, it doesn't. And that's something beautiful for a child to say, because not many have that privilege.
Exactly.
Not many.
And as we talk too about, the spiritual stuff, I teach her as being that she has an enemy. That she said she has an enemy that wants to destroy her life, that wants to destroy everyone's life. I also teach her that. And I teach her that she's on the winning side. That all she has to do is call upon Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's something that they have to know.
Yes, exactly.
They have to know.
That
Because
with Christ you can do anything.
the best way an enemy can get to you is if you think he's your friend, if you embrace him. And right now we embracing a dark plan of Satan into our homes through the phones, through technology. We went to see this kid, he's 14, and parents go to church and everything. They're very devoted to church, and yet he had something compelled me to. I asked the mom, you know what? Almost every kid, I was a kid also. We will hide things in between the mattresses. So I look in between the mattress, and sure enough, the drawings. There was a drawing where there was, very dark, a little boy, like a little baby, like falling into a dark pit, and then it was kind of reddish dark, and I told the mom, you know what, this is blood. This is no paint. This is blood. And then another picture where it says, help, help, and there's a demon with a gun saying, here's your help, And then another picture where there's this drawing, a guy hanging. I say, it's very clear how he's been attacked.
Oh, wow.
It's very clear.
And those are other ways that the evil attacks children, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like spiritual.
His friends struggle with the same area. It's an attack on a lot of youth. We went to see a movie, it's a true story. It's called Grizzlies, I think, from Alaska. And this teacher goes over there, and the teacher says, a lot of kids are committing suicide. Yeah, a lot of kids. It's something like, it's going to happen sooner or later. But he made a difference. And we like to see movies like that, that some are true, some are fictional, but with a very positive message. How, like McFarlane, is a true story, how one man or one woman can come and make a difference if you tell those kids, you know what? That discouragement is destroying you. The discouragement is telling you that you're worth nothing. The discouragement is telling you that, you know what, go seek help where you are not going to find help. Go and seek refuge in drugs, seek refuge in alcohol, seek refuge in bad company. And I love what Pastor Torres says. So you are looking for a change in your life, but you keep doing the same thing. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to do something new. And that's when I come to Christ, He offers me that newness, that new opportunity.
And that's another thing. I don't think it's that easy for some people to let all that bad stuff go because they're so comfortable with it. You know, the evil just makes it so comfortable for them and so easy for them to grasp that coming to God kind of like defies what they're doing.
Yeah. And when the person grows in conviction, in relationship with God, it's like this young man Joshua that is here with me right now. I go, as I told you, I go and clean the school of my little girl, Christian Academy, a great school, and that way we don't pay tuition. So there was Jefferson and him. So because I had my little girl's puppy, I told Joshua, can you take care of the dog outside while I go and clean? And he says, I said, you don't feel comfortable, huh? He said, no, Pastor, because this is where I will walk every single day of my life when he was in drugs. And I respected it. I said, okay, Jefferson, you go walk the dog, you're from Monterrey, you're a U.S. citizen, but all your life you were there, You walk the dog, and I'm going to take Joshua inside. Because now he doesn't feel comfortable in that area, which is great. Because he's a new creation. He's a new person. He does. He says, I don't want nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
In his mind, he says, any place but San Antonio. I want to go back to Piedras Negras with your brother. I said, okay.
He doesn't want to go back to that negativity that reminds him of the negative space he was in.
Can you imagine 23 years old?
So young.
He hasn't done nothing. Yeah. And I encourage him, I tell him, look, I help a lot of guys that come, we have signed for guys through the ministry in the immigration from Honduras or other places. They get their permit to work. Say, these guys learn how to use machines. They're getting $23 an hour. And they only have a permit. You're a U.S. citizen. If they can do it, the first barrier was language. I said, but they have something against in advance. They come with a vision.
And their strong will to make it happen.
To make it. And when they come as I just tell them two things. Remember this. When you were fighting for your life to come over here, because some people died, as we know, and God, by His grace, allow you to come here. On your darkest moment on the road, you made promises to God. I say, keep those promises. You came to make money, and you came to give your family a better life. So you start sending money. I always tell them, are you married? Do you have kids? Okay, send money over there. Don't be greedy, stingy. No. You have family over there, you take care of your family. I don't let them slide with that, that, it's because I have to make payments. No.
Yeah.
Your daughter has to eat. Your mom has to eat. Your wife has to eat. Send them money.
That's why he came over here in the first place. Yeah. Or they come over here in the first place.
So it's like you're teaching them priorities, responsibility. And another thing that I do, I buy them a Bible. I say, here's a Bible. I make sure they have a Bible. We have Bible studies. Okay, come on. So they can read the Bible too. And I believe that the most beautiful thing will be that whenever they go, they not only have a better place financially, but that they have a relationship with God. Because no matter what goes in their lives and in their family, they can always conquer it through Jesus.
And lastly, what message would you give to a person that is battling addictions right now? Any type of addiction. Because as we heard, the evil attacks us through different ways that he knows that we are going to fail, that we are going to fall.
When I was a little boy, there was this young kid also in elementary school. His name was Juval, I think, and he will give me a heart